Good afternoon, my name is Tom. I come to you from the Rustic log cabin in Northern Maine. Welcome to my reloading room today. Well, as most of you know, we did a video. I think it was about a week ago. I did a video from up here in the reloading room. So we're going to follow up on that video. There was a lot of great comments that came in. If you'd like to read them, the video is up and the comments are there, but there was a lot of great comments. And one of the common themes to the comments was difficulty, more impatience of doing it, I guess, or thinking about starting it, but afraid to. Stuff like that was kind of the way I took a lot, not a lot, but some of the comments. And some of the people that I've been talking to, we've been doing this channel for 4 years. In the course of the 4 years, I never intended the reloading room to be a part of my YouTube channel. For a lot of reasons. Reloading is one of those things, and when it comes to guns, is one of those things that YouTube really cracks down on. So I really don't know where the line is to what's too much, what's not enough. I know there's reloading channels out there. I listen to them. They're constantly being hit by YouTube. So I kind of never thought that this reloading room would be a part of my YouTube channel because of that. But after doing one video up here, which was I think it was not tomorrow when you get this. It will be Wednesday. I think it was last Wednesday that I did that YouTube video up here in the reloading room. So what I'm, and getting back to even that video. Now, I've been doing this stuff for 35 years plus. I could go back in my records and find out when I made the first load and all of that. But it was over 35 years ago. And I started out with zero knowledge. So, and I always fall back on that. If one man can do it, so can another. So what I'd like to do up here in the reloading room, and I've thought about this since last week. It went well. I like the comments. Whenever I do gun videos, we get a ton of comments. So it does take me a little while to respond to them. I finished up last night. While I was relaxing, I finished up last night reading the rest of the comments in the reloading video and answered each and every one of them. So, but what I want to do, to me, there's two kinds of reloaders. There's the hunting reloader, like me. I do expect a lot out of my gun, so that, whoops. No. We're going to take a break here in a minute, pick all that up. You can't talk with your hands. Getting back to what I was saying. To me, there's two kinds of reloaders. There's a reloader for hunting and target shooting, stuff like that. You want to be able to go to the range. You want to be able to shoot your rifle on a regular basis. But ammunition is expensive. And that was another theme that came up. I think it came up in a couple of questions as well. Factory ammunition has come a long ways. I'm not knocking factory ammunition. I didn't knock factory ammunition 35 years ago. I've got factory ammunition on that shelf that I bought the day I bought my 35-06. I'm almost out of them. But I bought, I think it was 5 boxes back then. Every 5 years, I take 10 rounds out of that factory ammunition. I take it to the range, and I shoot it as good as I possibly can. I mean, I set up the bench, I do everything, and I shoot that stuff like it's gold, because it is. It's 35 years old, at least. Probably more than that. I bought that gun when I was what, 19. So it's close to 40 years old. But anyways, what I wanted to know even back then was, and I still do it now. I got out some powders here that are really old, and we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that later on. But what I wanted to know even back then was because you hear a lot of stories, and I'm always about, you know, I don't believe hardly anything until I tested it out myself. You know, you got guys out there tell you old ammunition is no good and all of that. So rather than take someone else's word for it and hearsay and everything else, I have been testing ammunition for 35 and 40 years. Like I said, I've got old stuff up there when I bought the 30-06. That old factory ammunition shoots as good today as it did 35 years ago. Period. I've got the targets. I'm still shooting at the same range. I go to the same shooting range. I've got the same targets. And I just have been shooting them bullets for 35 years. Like I said, I'm almost out of them. I think I got one box left up there. So that test will be just about over. But I'm here to say this, is old ammunition, factory or reloads, shoots as good today as it will 30 years from now. Period. As far as my testing goes. Now, we get in a minute ago, there's two kind of reloaders. To me, there's the reloader that's shooting exclusively for bench rest shooting and wants to get that bullet exactly in the hole every single time. That's a big difference between the guy that's reloading for hunting and reloading to go up and shoot a few rounds. There's a big difference there, and the same thing in equipment. So what I wanted to say here in a couple of videos, and again, we'll see where this goes when you guys lose interest in it. What that means is no views, no comments, no watch time. I mean, it's I know everything about these videos. When they become where you guys are bored with them, then I just won't make them anymore. But to say all that, to say this, is I'd like to go through what reloading is to a guy that just wants to get into reloading. Doesn't want to spend a lot of money, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. Since last Wednesday, I've done a little bit of research, because my equipment I bought 35 and 40 years ago. You don't buy it all in one setting, you know. You don't arrive 35 years later with a reloading room that's well stocked day one. It's a slow process, but you do need a few basic tools. And I wanted to break down, what does basic mean? So you'll see, I have a canning jar here. I have an empty canning jar. Over here, I have an empty 30-06 case. These two things are identical. They're both empty. So this canning jar, you go to the store or you go to your garden and you fill this up, or you put meat in it, whatever you're going to put in this canning jar is no different than what you're going to put in this 30-06 shell. You're going to have a recipe that goes in this canning jar. It's going to be whatever. You open up the recipe book. The recipe book tells you how to fill this canning jar. Filling this case is no difference. I showed you a week ago, I had a reloading book out here. That reading book is full of recipes. You find your gun, they will and you never vary from the book. Don't make up your own recipe. Reloading is not making up your own recipe. Period. If you want to keep this stuff safe, reloading, especially for the guy that just wants to do it for hunting and some target shooting, is not making up your own load or making up your own recipe. It doesn't happen that way. You have a reloading book. You look up your rifle. In there, you'll find the bullet that you want. It's simple. It's all laid out. The books are very easy to use. So you pick the bullet that you want to use, and that bullet is no different than this cover. I got a box of 30 caliber 30-06 bullets here. This cover and this bullet are identical. They do exactly the same thing. The canning jar, you put your recipe in there. You put the lid on it. Now on a canning jar, you got to pressure cook it. You got to pressure can it. But that jar is done. The recipe is in it. The case is full. The bullet's on top. A 30-06 shell is exactly the same. Or 223 or whatever you're loading for. There's a case, there's the cover. Put the recipe in, put the lid on it, and boom, you've got some factory ammunition. You've got some reloads. It's that simple. Now, quality will depend on you. It'll depend on how fussy you are. That's the fun thing about reloading, is that you can make them circles as tight as you want down there on your target. It all depends on how much you want to put into your reloading. I like to play with it. I never do it in a rush. I never do it when I'm got 1,000 things on my mind. I do it when I want to relax. I usually do it leading up to hunting season, because it's one of those things that while you're reloading, you're thinking about that big buck, all of that stuff. One of the other questions that came in on them comments was, again, factory ammunition versus reloads, was the cost. Or not, I don't think it was quite there, but it was one of the things I researched anyways, because it came up a couple of times, was factory ammunition has come a long ways. It has come a long ways. They are using the different bullets that we use now, the Hornady bullets. They're using Nosler bullets, all kinds of that stuff. Now, I don't follow that stuff because I don't need to, but I did a little research this week because of some of the comments that came in, and they do sell, like I said, some of these high-end cartridges that we're able to make in the reloading room. But what was scary was the cost of the box of ammunition. I can't remember, I'd have to look again and write it down, but there was a couple of them that I looked at, was 20 rounds was $74. And it was in them high-end bullets, the Hornady bullets, the factory ones and all of that other stuff, the same stuff that we reload right here in the room. But they was anywhere from $60 a box to $79 a box. Well, if at $70 a box, I can't pull the trigger. That's too expensive. I'll go to the range on any time that I go to the range, and usually I shoot 4 or 5 boxes easily. I like to go to the range with the 25-06. I'll bring at least 3 different guns with me, rifles, because when the rifle gets hot, then I switch out the rifle, and instead of standing there, picking my nose and looking around while I'm waiting for a rifle to cool down, then I'll take out the 223, or I'll take out my 30-06 or something like that. I always go with 2 or 3 different rifles that I'm shooting at the same distance. If I'm out at 200 yards, then I've got the 25-06, or I've got the 22-250. One of the two, it doesn't matter. But this box of bullets that you're making, if you're buying factory ammunition, let's pick on that one that was 74. I wish I wrote it. I could look it up, I guess. Get on, start looking it up, and you guys I'm sure a lot of you already know the cost of ammunition. I don't. It's not one of them things that I follow because I don't need to. But I know that I can build a box of bullets for any one of these guns. Let's say this 25-06. I just bought, they come a box in 100. This right here, I bought 300 rounds. That's why I was on here doing some research, and the next thing you know, I was buying some bullets. But I'll pick on this here. This is for my 9mm. They come in a box of 100. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 500 rounds there. 500 bullets that I can stick on top of my 9mm case. It's the same way with this 25-06. Now, I bought 300 rounds of the 25-06, 117 grain, and they was 30, I think it was $31 a box for 100. It worked out to be in like 30 cents a piece. 30 cents a piece. So then you've got a little bit of powder that's going to go in there, and you've got a primer. I've got well under $1 per round for that 25-06. Well under. And I was in the 25-06, so that might have been 25-06 bullets I was looking at for $74. I was in that part of Medway is the outfit that I go with. They were fast. I ordered 3 boxes of rounds, 3 boxes, which is 300 rounds. And within 20 minutes, I got an email back from them saying that my order was shipped. So, yeah, to me, you don't get much better service than that. Now, they haven't got here yet. I expect them any day this week. But they were shipped that night and gave me a tracking number and all of that. So, 300 more rounds are coming for this. The reason I ordered the 87 grains is because I got looking through my stuff and everything for this 25-06 I had was 87 grains set up for coyotes and groundhogs. I didn't have anything bigger that, you know, got a gun like this, I might as well have a bigger bullet. I could use it for bear hunting or I could use it for deer hunting. Either or, as long as I've got the lead. So I've got the lead coming, so I've got a bigger bullet now for this. So that'll be the next project up here in the reloading room. We'll be figuring out the best load for this rifle using 117 grain. Now, to me, that stuff is fun to do. So, you know, it's not a question of being patient. It's just a question of grabbing yourself a cup of coffee and setting up a small reloading room to be able to do this. My reloading stuff, when I got into this years ago, I call myself old school now because after doing some research for you guys, you know, especially if you get on eBay, I have a single stage RCBS single stage rock chucker press. It does absolutely everything. Puts your primer in, punches your primer out. You can load your powder up, you know, over here on with a funnel and your cases, and you go over there and you install the bullet. I've been using that press since the very beginning. There is nothing wrong with it. I'll put a picture of it into this video so you can see it. And then as we go along, I'll take each one of these pieces of equipment and show it to you. And show you how it works. But keep it simple, stupid. And I've got to get into that. Vintage. My rock chucker in eBay is called Vintage now. Well, when I bought it, that was the best thing going. So to hear it called Vintage now, just because it's 40 years old, it's kind of crazy to me. But all that stuff is pushing up, pushing a bullet into that case, setting the bullet, all of that. That's what reloading is. And we're going to go through some of the, I'm going to say myths. You know, I've been more than just a guy that reloads bullets. I have been testing this stuff at the range because I like to know, you know, I've always set this stuff up with the mind like we're in right now, the country, where they want to take your guns away from you. They want to take your bullets and they want this and they want that. Well, I've always had that mindset from the very beginning. So that's some of the stuff that I'm going to go through up here. Some of the stuff I'm not going to go into too much detail on, like I said, because of YouTube. But I'd like to go through enough that maybe it's a little better understood and not quite so scary to some people what reloading is. Getting to these powders that I brought out here. Years ago, I made a trade for a bunch of reloading equipment. It was a pickup truck load. So I've got a used press over there, the same thing as the Rock Chuck RCBS, but it's Pacific. Nothing wrong with it. I use it as what I use it for is every once in a while you want to pull a bullet without shooting it. So you want to pull the bullet out. It's like taking the cover off this cannon jar, and I've got a bullet puller in there for all my different calibers, so I can put my case in there, clamp down on the bullet, pull the bullet out, and either check the powder, or, you know, if you ever have any questions about your reloads, never shoot them. That's all. Pull them out, reweigh them, and all of that. But getting to this powder, I made a trade years ago. Now, I was looking through for some old powder from that trade, and it's all gone. But that powder took me 20 years to shoot it. And it came in cans like this. They were brand new, still sealed on the top, rusty, but you could see, you knew what brand it was, you knew what number it was. It was the tops that were rusty. It took me over 20 years to shoot that powder. So I shot on it, I'm talking, probably, man, 50, 60 pounds of powder at least. And I was looking, I keep over my shoulder. I was looking through that, because that's where I kept it so I could keep reloading it to shoot it off. But that powder worked good for me, so that's what I want to get to is maybe you can make some trades, pick or find some deals. I was on eBay. I found the rock chucker, RCBS rock chucker press single stage, usually around $100, $150. If you can get yourself one of those, you're golden. You're well on the road to being a reloader. You get on YouTube and you watch some of these other YouTube channels that are out there on reloads, and they have a lot of equipment, and they do have a lot of equipment, but you don't need that equipment to get started. Keep it simple, keep the cost down, don't be afraid of buying used. You cannot hurt these presses. Keep them oiled. That's all it takes, a little bit of oil on the shaft, and that's all I do with that press. Year after year, is I put a little oil on it, and she's good to go for the season. So I'd like to go through some of this equipment with you, and that's what we're going to do with this. I might as well call this a series, because like I said in the beginning, I wasn't planning on taking my reloading room onto the YouTube stuff, but this channel is all about learning. And after some of the comments that came in, I think it's a good spot. I think it's a good subject to touch on. And I will, like I said, I will touch on it until you guys get bored with it. So I'll see you next week. And you guys have one last sip of coffee with me.